What if the next hotel you stayed in wasn't just hosting tourists, but ghosts? Around the world, there are hotels so haunted, so steeped in tragedy, that people check in for a night and leave with memories they'll never shake. Hallways where whispers echo with no source. Ballrooms where music plays to an audience of the dead. And rooms so terrifying staff refuse to enter. Tonight, on Mozyro, we're unlocking the doors to the top 5 haunted hotels with real ghost stories. Each one hides something sinister, and by the end, you may never look at hotel corridors the same way again. Nestled high in the Colorado Rockies, the Stanley Hotel looks pristine and inviting. Built in 1909, it was meant to be a luxury escape for the wealthy, but its beauty conceals something much darker. It was here that author Stephen King stayed in room 217, a night that inspired The Shining. He awoke from a nightmare of his young son being chased through endless corridors and swore the hotel itself was alive. But the Stanley's ghost stories didn't start with King. Guests report flickering lights, phantom footsteps, and the sound of a piano echoing through the halls. The ballroom is notorious. Many have heard invisible fingers pressing keys, playing mournful notes in the dead of night. Room 217 remains the most infamous. Long before King's visit, a maid was electrocuted during a gas lamp explosion in that room. She survived, but guests claim her spirit never left. Some have awoken to find their clothes folded neatly at the foot of the bed, or the blankets tucked tightly around them, as if a ghostly housekeeper had paid a visit. Tour guides at the Stanley refuse to enter certain areas after dark. One described the sensation of being followed down a hallway, heavy footsteps pacing just behind her, only to turn and find no one there. Perhaps the most disturbing detail? Surveillance footage has captured objects moving on their own, chairs shifting, doors swinging open. To this day, the Stanley markets itself proudly as America's most haunted hotel. But when you sleep there, you're never truly alone. The Fairmont Banff Springs rises like a castle from the Canadian Rockies. It's breathtaking by day, but its shadowy history lingers long after sunset. The most famous ghost is known as the Bride. In the 1920s, on her wedding day, she slipped on the grand marble staircase, her gown catching fire from a candle as she fell to her death. Now, guests swear they see her wandering the staircases late at night, her veil trailing behind her, her steps silent. Some even claim she dances in the empty ballroom, forever waiting for a wedding that never came. But the hotel hides another story, one much darker. Room 873. According to legend, a man murdered his wife and young daughter inside that room. After the killings, staff struggled to clean the walls. No matter how hard they scrubbed, the stains returned. Eventually, the door was bricked over and sealed. Management denies it, but visitors insist they can still see the faint outline of a doorway. Those who sleep in the adjacent rooms report scratching sounds through the walls, and the cries of a child begging for help. Even the staff tell their own ghost tales. Elevator operators speak of a phantom bellman, a man in a 1940s uniform who helps guests with their luggage. But when they try to tip him, he vanishes into thin air. The Banff Springs is luxurious, yes, but behind the chandeliers and mountain views lurks a reminder. Beauty can hide horrors, and sometimes the walls remember more than the living will ever know. The Queen Mary was once the crown jewel of ocean liners, a floating palace of luxury. But during World War II, it became a troop transport, nicknamed the Grey Ghost. It carried thousands of soldiers, but not all returned. In 1942, the Queen Mary accidentally rammed into a smaller ship, slicing it in two. Hundreds of men drowned in the cold Atlantic. Since then, the Queen Mary has been haunted by wet, barefoot apparitions. Guests hear dripping water in sealed-off areas, or see phantom sailors roaming the decks. The swimming pool is especially eerie. Though it's been dry for decades, people claim to hear splashing and children's laughter. Some witnesses describe a little girl in a bathing suit, dripping wet, asking for her mother, only to vanish when approached. But the most terrifying place: Cabin B340. So many guests fled in terror that the room was locked for years. Those who stayed reported lights flickering on their own, blankets pulled off in the middle of the night, and guttural voices whispering from the darkness. One man claimed something scratched violently at the bathroom door from the inside, even though he was alone. Today, the Queen Mary is permanently docked in California, a floating hotel. But step aboard, and you'll understand why many call it one of the most haunted places in America. Few hotels have a reputation as cursed as the Cecil. Opened in 1927 as a glamorous destination, it quickly spiraled into a haven for crime, despair, and death. Dozens of suicides happened here, so many that locals call it the Suicide Hotel. Infamous serial killers stayed here too, including Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, who committed brutal murders during his time as a guest. But the Cecil is most infamous for the death of Elisa Lam in 2013. Found in the rooftop water tank after disappearing for weeks, her case remains shrouded in mystery. The hotel's security footage showed her behaving strangely in the elevator, pressing buttons frantically, hiding, and gesturing as if someone unseen was chasing her. No one knows what terrified her that night. Since her death, guests claim the elevators behave erratically, stopping on floors uncalled. Others report seeing her reflection in the elevator mirrors, even when they're completely alone. Some say the Cecil is cursed, a magnet for darkness. Others believe something malevolent stalks its halls, feeding on despair. Either way, one thing is certain. Those who stay here often leave with more questions than answers. In the heart of London stands the Langham, an elegant, luxurious hotel. But behind its polished exterior lies one of the most paranormally active locations in the world. Room 333 is infamous. Each October, guests claim to wake at precisely 3 a.m. to see a glowing man in Victorian evening wear at the foot of their bed. Some say he approaches slowly, his face contorted in silent rage, before fading into mist. The Langham is home to more than just one ghost. A German prince who leapt to his death is said to linger near the upper floors, staring out windows with sorrowful eyes. A phantom butler has been spotted in the corridors, offering service to empty rooms. Even BBC staff who once stayed at the hotel reported multiple sightings of spirits during their broadcasts. But what makes the Langham most disturbing is this. Guests in separate rooms, at the same time, have described seeing the same ghost. Witnesses who never spoke to each other recount identical details. The same clothes, the same face, the same chilling stare. For many, the Langham is proof that some places are more than haunted. They are gateways, and once opened, some doors can never be closed. Hotels are supposed to be safe havens, places of comfort, sleep, and rest. But these hotels hold on to the restless dead. If you ever stay in one of these haunted places, remember, when the lights flicker, when you feel that chill in the air, you might not be alone. Which of these hotels would you dare to spend the night in? Or which one would you avoid at all costs? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to Mozyro for more terrifying real-world mysteries, where every story keeps you awake long after the credits roll.